Hi guys, I am here to go through our last set of notes for the school year. We are looking at what Minnesota is like today, which is chapters 19 and 20 in our Northern Lights textbook. So this is a little note to you. It says, congrats, this is the final notes activity of your 6th grade year. Pat yourself on the back, you're almost done. Remember to read everything on each slide and look at the images. Make sure you fill in the blanks from the numbered lines in blue. So we're going to look at Minnesota in the modern world today. So the world we are living in is always changing, and so is history. Every day, the world becomes a different place and more history is made. So number one, this is what you need to write down, fill in those blanks. Minnesota has grown and developed a lot during the last 30 to 40 years. New people, ideas, technologies, and companies and ways of life have come here faster than ever before. So Minnesota has grown and developed a lot. A lot of new people, ideas, technology, and companies and ways of life are here in Minnesota now, and that are new to what was like 30 to 40 years ago. We are living through a never-before-seen type of history with the current quarantine as well. So it's crazy to think about. You guys are literally living through history right now. We are seeing a new type of history from our quarantine. So let's take a look at our pictures here. So here we have someone who is grocery shopping in quarantine. They're wearing gloves, I think, and they have a face mask on. Our middle picture is taken from a newscast of Governor Walz giving an address about the COVID-19 outbreak. And then our last picture here is just a Twin Cities skyline. So just think about how Minnesota and the Twin Cities has changed in the last 30 to 40 years. It's kind of crazy. Let's look at Minnesota's population. Remember, population is the people that live there. So one of the biggest changes to Minnesota recently is its population. It has grown by over 2 million people in the last 40 years. Number two, what you need to fill in the blanks for. So Minnesota has become much more diverse as new groups of immigrants and refugees come to the Twin Cities. So remember, immigrants are people who come to live in a new country, and refugees are people who come to a new country to live there to escape what might be going on in their home country. So Minnesota is becoming very diverse with lots of new people groups. We have lots of different immigrants and refugees that come specifically to the Twin Cities. Many of these new immigrants are from parts of Eastern Africa, Central America, and Southeast Asia. They bring new cultures, foods, languages, businesses, and goods to Minnesota each year. So here in these pictures, we can see just some of the different people groups that we have here represented in Minnesota. Take a minute to look at the pictures, see what you notice about them. What culture, food, language, businesses, or goods have they brought to Minnesota? So now we're looking at Minnesota's culture. So Minnesota has a lot of inclusive cultural attractions. So those are the places that people want to go to. So an example would be the Mall of America, the State Fair, and downtown attractions in the Twin Cities. We also have had a female senator run for president, which is Amy Klobuchar, this middle picture, and the first ever female Somali refugee nominated into Congress, which is Ilhan Omar, right here on the left. And we've had new laws and momentum created to support the Dakota and Ojibwe people still living in Minnesota. So Minnesota has a lot of places that people like to go to, and we've had some really cool and powerful women that are working for and trying to support our government. And those government laws have also tried to help our Dakota and Ojibwe people that we've been learning about. So now number three, what you need to fill in the blanks for is, as a state, we have changed a lot recently, but that does not mean we are perfect. There is still a long way to go in order for all people to be treated fairly and equally. As a state, we have made a lot of changes recently, but that does not mean we are perfect. There is still a long way to go in order for all people to be treated fairly and equally. So this is especially important if you think about all the things that we learned in our last unit. Think about what happened in World War II. Think about if you know anything about the Holocaust and how the Jewish people were attacked in that. Think about our Rondo neighborhood activity that we learned about. What happened there? Was that fair? Were they treated equally? What happened with the civil rights movement? What were they trying to do? They are trying to make sure that all people were treated fairly, not included in treating them differently just because of their skin color. So we're not perfect, but think about how far we've come today compared to what things were like in our last unit that we learned about in the last 100 years. So now we're going to do some reflection. Think about the change that we've had. Think about these questions in your head. Think about how you have changed over the course of the year. How have you changed this school year? This time last year, you were finishing up 5th grade, and now you have almost 1 year of middle school done. How have you changed? How did the things you've learned about in your state change your life or your viewpoint on the world around you? What have you learned this year in social studies or any other classes about what our state has done? Does that change your viewpoint? Does that change the way you think? Do you think Minnesota is a good place to live? What have you learned? What do you think about? Are those good things? Are those bad things? What did you learn about the different people who have lived in Minnesota? So what did you learn about all the different types of people that live here in Minnesota? We all are different. And we're all here in Minnesota. What did you learn about the different people? And then what was your favorite time period in Minnesota history? Did you enjoy learning about the Dakota and Ojibwe people? Did you enjoy learning about the Civil War? Did you enjoy learning about World War I or World War II? What was some of your favorite periods of time that we talked about this year? And now we want you guys to answer this question. So you do not copy this question. Answer it. What was your favorite part about Minnesota Studies this year and why? What was your favorite part about Minnesota Studies and why? Some things that we did this year. Remember, we had our fur trade simulation. We had an auction. We have done lots of different activities in distance learning. We've learned about a lot of different periods of time. What was your favorite part about social studies this year and why? Congrats! You're finally done with your last notes sheet of the year. Make sure you submit your work for points. Good job, guys.